She expected me to break. Standing there in front of 200 of New York's most powerful people, while my fiancé's ex grabbed that microphone and prepared to humiliate me. She wanted the angry black woman, the scene, the spectacle everyone expects. Instead, I gave her something she never saw coming. Silence.
Dignity.
And evidence that would destroy her life. Let me tell you how a Beverly Hills heiress tried to ruin me at the biggest gala of the year, and how I walked out holding everything she thought she'd take from me. But before I do, if you're a woman who's ever been underestimated, lied to, or expected to just accept disrespect, hit that subscribe button right now. Because I tell stories about women who refuse to break. Women who fight back with intelligence instead of drama. And women who understand that real power isn't about making noise. It's about knowing your worth and never apologizing for it. Now, let's go back to where this all started. My name is Ariana Sinclair. I'm 36 years old. And I didn't build a 7-figure luxury event company by letting anyone make me small. Not the clients who assumed I was someone's assistant when I walked into the room. Not the society women at country clubs who couldn't believe a black woman from Atlanta belonged in their world. And definitely not my fiancé's vindictive ex-girlfriend who thought her old money and white skin would protect her. I grew up in Atlanta. My mother cleaned houses in Buckhead. The big houses. The ones with circular driveways and rooms they only used twice a year. She'd come home exhausted, feet aching, and tell me the same thing every single night. Baby, you're going to own a house like that one day. But you're going to earn it yourself. Never let anyone hand you something and think they own you. I never forgot that. I put myself through college working 3 jobs. Started my event company with $5,000 and a used laptop. Spent 15 years building a reputation one perfect event at a time. By the time I was 36, I'd produced the governor's inaugural ball. Designed celebrity weddings that made Vogue. Orchestrated New York Fashion Week's most exclusive after-parties. Forbes called me one of the most influential black women in luxury events. They said I made the impossible look effortless. What they didn't know was how hard I'd worked to make it look that way. How many times I'd walked into rooms full of people who looked at my skin and assumed I was there to serve drinks, not run the event. How I'd learned to be twice as prepared, twice as polished, and twice as professional just to be considered half as good. But I'd made it. And I'd done it myself. That's who I was when I met Ethan Sterling. 6 months before everything exploded. I was managing a charity auction at the Plaza. 500 guests. $10 million fundraising goal. Every detail perfect. He was the keynote speaker. Tech billionaire. 40 years old. Self-made, just like me. The kind of quiet, confident power that doesn't need to announce itself because everyone already knows. After his speech, he found me backstage reviewing the auction catalog. You made everyone stay. Usually half the room heads to the bar during the speeches. That's impressive. I didn't look up for my notes. You donated $2 million and told a story about your grandmother teaching you to code. That helped. He laughed. Really laughed. A woman who doesn't flatter billionaires. I like that. I finally looked at him. I don't need to flatter anyone, Mr. Sterling. My work speaks for itself.
Ethan.
And clearly it does. He paused. We should work together sometime. Send your people to my people. I'm booked through next spring, but we can discuss the spring after that. He smiled wider. What if I want to discuss it over dinner? Tomorrow night. I raised an eyebrow. Is this a professional inquiry or a personal one? Both. Is that allowed? I considered him for a moment. Successful. Self-made. Respectful.
Direct.
It's allowed. But I don't mix business with anything else until I decide if the anything else is worth my time. Fair enough. Dinner. Just dinner. You pick the place. 3 months later, he proposed on a terrace overlooking Central Park. You're the first time I've felt like myself in years. Like I don't have to perform or prove anything. Like I can just be. I felt the exact same way. I thought I knew everything about him. I was wrong. 2 months before the gala, everything started to shift. Ethan began staying late at the office, taking phone calls in other rooms, staring at his phone with an expression I couldn't read. At first, I told myself it was work stress, a new product launch, investor pressure. But I'm a Black woman who built a business navigating rooms full of people looking for reasons to doubt me. I know what a lie feels like even when no words are spoken. Everything okay? I asked one evening as he poured himself a third drink. Just work. Anything I can help with?
No.
It's fine. I'm handling it. But he wasn't handling it. I could see it in the tension in his shoulders, the distance in his eyes. One afternoon, I went to his office while he was in meetings. I told myself I was just dropping off his favorite coffee, being thoughtful. But really, I needed to feel close to him, to understand the distance growing between us. I sat at his desk for a moment, looking at our photo from Paris. We'd been so happy. Then I reached for a pen, and my elbow knocked over a stack of folders. Papers scattered across the floor. I bent down to gather them. And that's when I saw it. A photograph, face down on the mahogany. I picked it up. A little boy, 4 years old, dark brown curls, wide brown eyes that I recognized immediately. Ethan's eyes. My breath stopped. I turned it over. Handwritten on the back in unfamiliar script, Miles. Age 4. For 10 seconds, I sat there frozen. Then my hands started shaking. Questions flooded my mind. Who was this child? Why did Ethan have his photo hidden in his desk? When was this taken? Where was this boy now? I felt tears burn my eyes, but I didn't let them fall. Because I'd learned something building my empire in spaces that weren't designed for women like me. Emotions are valid, but information is power. And I needed to know everything before I showed my hand. I put the photo back exactly where I'd found it, straightened the folders, left the coffee on his desk, and walked out. That night at dinner, Ethan was distracted. "How was your day?" he asked, barely looking up from his phone. "Interesting. Productive. Yours?" "Long, complicated." I watched him across the table. This man I loved. This man who was hiding something that involved a 4-year-old child.
Ethan.
If something was wrong, if you were in trouble or dealing with something difficult, you'd tell me, right?
He looked up then.
Something flickered across his face. Guilt.
Fear. Conflict.
Of course. Another lie. I could see it as clearly as if he'd written it across his forehead. "Okay. I just want you to know I'm here. Whatever it is." He reached across the table and took my hand. "I know. Thank you." But he didn't tell me. And every day after that, the distance grew. 3 days after I found the photograph, an email appeared in my inbox. 2 in the morning. I was awake, lying beside Ethan, feeling the space between us like a physical thing. My phone buzzed.
Zenda, anonymous.
Subject: the truth about Sloan Whitaker. One file attached. I stared at that email for a full minute. Every instinct told me to open it. But part of me was terrified of what I'd find. I slipped out of bed, took my phone to the bathroom, and downloaded the file. The file information showed, created by Jessica Rains, Sterling Legal. Jessica Rains, Ethan's head of legal affairs. I'd met her twice. Sharp.
Direct. No nonsense.
Why was she sending me anonymous files? I opened the first document. Bank statements. Wire transfer record. Amount: $12 million. From Whitaker Holdings, LLC. To Cayman Islands account S. Whitaker. Date: multiple transfers, 2019 to 2022. $12 million. Embezzlement. Then emails. From Sloan Whitaker. To attorney name redacted. Subject: paternity leverage strategy. Don't file the custody case yet. I need Ethan desperate first. The child is my insurance policy. Once he's publicly engaged to that event planner, I'll make my move. He'll pay anything to keep this quiet and protect his perfect reputation. and she'll be collateral damage. My hands went numb. Insurance policy. The child. Leverage. I kept reading. More documents. Forged signatures on legal papers. Offshore accounts. Years of systematic theft from her own father's real estate company. Then another email that made my blood run cold. From Sloan Whitaker. Subject: Miles' custody question. You asked if I feel guilty keeping his son from him. I don't. Miles is a tool. Ethan Sterling humiliated me when he ended things. Accused me of being a thief and a liar in front of people who mattered. Destroyed my reputation in certain circles. Now I'll destroy his perfect life and take half his fortune doing it. He owes me that much. The child is just a means to an end. Once I've bled him dry, I'll disappear again. I sat on that bathroom floor and let myself break. Just for 5 minutes. Tears streamed down my face. My chest ached. My hands shook. Not because Ethan had a child with someone else. That wasn't his fault. But because he'd known for weeks, maybe months, and never told me. Because he'd looked me in the eye every day and chosen silence. Because he didn't trust me enough to believe I'd stand by him. After 5 minutes, I wiped my eyes, washed my face, and made a decision. Sloan Whitaker thought she was playing a sophisticated game of chess. But she'd made one critical, fatal mistake. She'd underestimated a black woman who'd spent her entire life being underestimated and proving every single doubter wrong. The Empire City Gala was 3 days away. For weeks, Sloan had been laying groundwork. She'd started appearing at charity events I was attending. Always perfectly positioned where I'd see her. Always immaculate in designer clothes that whispered old money. At a museum fundraiser, she stood near the champagne table as I passed. Some women have no idea what they're walking into. It's almost sad. Loud enough for me to hear. Quiet enough to have plausible deniability. At a hospital gala, she made sure to cross my path near the coat check. I do hope she's prepared for the truth to come out. The spotlight reveals everything. Smiling. Always smiling. The society pages started running blind items. Which Manhattan tech titan is hiding a secret from his perfect fiancé? Trouble brewing in paradise for one of New York's golden couples? Ethan's board called an emergency meeting. His CFO was blunt. These rumors are affecting investor confidence. Stock dropped 3 points this week. You need to address this or control the narrative. There's nothing to address. Then where are these stories coming from? Ethan had no answer, because he knew exactly where. That evening, sitting in our penthouse, his phone buzzed. A text from a number he'd deleted years ago, but still recognized. Tell her the truth, or I will. You have until the Empire Gala. 3 days, Ethan. The clock is ticking. He stared at that message for a long time. Then he looked at me, curled up on the sofa reading a book, completely peaceful. He opened his mouth to tell me. The words wouldn't come. Fear won. The worst decision he ever made. But I already knew. I'd known for days. And I was ready. The night of the Empire Gala, I spent 2 hours getting ready. Emerald green silk gown that fit like it was painted on. Hair swept up. Makeup flawless. Diamond earrings Ethan had given me for my birthday. I looked at myself in the mirror and saw exactly what I wanted to see. A woman who'd built her own empire. A woman who belonged in any room she chose to enter. A woman who would not be broken by anyone. Ethan appeared in the doorway, already dressed. You look incredible. Thank you. He hesitated. Ariana, there's something I need to tell you. Before we go. I should have told you weeks ago. I know about Miles. He froze. Completely froze. You what? I know you have a 4-year-old son. I know Sloan Whitaker hid him from you. And I know exactly what she's planning to do tonight. His face went white. How long have you known? Long enough. Why didn't you say anything? Because I was waiting to see if you'd trust me enough to tell me yourself. The pain that crossed his face was genuine. Ariana, I'm so sorry. I was terrified. I didn't know how to. We'll talk about this later. Right now, we have a gala to attend. We don't have to go. We can skip it. Deal with this privately. I picked up my clutch. Inside it, a USB drive with every piece of evidence Jessica Raines had sent me. Oh, we're going. Because Sloane Whitaker is expecting me to hide. To be embarrassed. To run away. I looked at him directly. I don't run, Ethan. I win. The gala was everything you'd expect. Red carpet. Photographers. New York's most powerful people in their most expensive clothes, air kissing and networking and pretending their donations were about charity instead of tax write-offs and social status. Ethan took my hand as we stepped from the car. Cameras exploded around us. Ariana. Over here. Mr. Sterling. Any comment on the rumors? Ariana. How are you feeling tonight? I smiled.
Waved.
Looked absolutely serene. Inside, my heart was pounding like a war drum. Then Sloane arrived. White gown. Diamonds at her throat that probably cost more than most people's houses. Hair like spun gold. Skin like porcelain. Everything about her screaming old money, privilege, untouchable. She found my eyes across the red carpet.
And smiled. Pure contempt wrapped in beauty.
I smiled back. Let her think she'd won. Inside the ballroom, crystal chandeliers threw light across 200 of the most powerful, wealthy, influential people in New York. But the whispers were deafening. That's his ex-girlfriend, Sloane Whitaker. Real Beverly Hills royalty. I heard she's going to make some kind of announcement tonight. Poor thing. That event planner has no idea what's coming. Sloane worked the room like the society princess she'd been raised to be. Air-kissing donors. Posing for photographers. Laughing at exactly the right volume. And every few minutes, her eyes would find me across the room. Watching. Savoring. Counting down. Ethan pulled me aside, tension radiating from every muscle. We should leave.
Right now.
Before she. I know exactly who she is and what she's planning, Ethan. Something in my tone made him stop. How much do you know? Everything. The embezzlement. The blackmail. The emails where she called your son an insurance policy. His eyes widened. How did you? Jessica Raines sent me everything. She thought I deserved to know what I was walking into. Ariana, I should have told you myself. From the beginning. I'm so. The lights dimmed. The orchestra stopped mid-song. A microphone screeched feedback. And Sloane Whitaker stepped into the spotlight at the podium. Every head in the room turned. Good evening, everyone. Her voice was pure silk over steel. I wasn't planning to speak tonight. But standing here, watching all of you celebrate success and legacy and empire building, I realized something important. She paused. Let the silence build. We worship the people who build fortunes. But what about the foundations those fortunes are built on? The sacrifices nobody talks about? The people who get left behind when someone decides their past doesn't fit their present. You could hear a pin drop. Her eyes found Ethan in the crowd. I'm not here for drama. I'm here because a child deserves to know his father. Complete silence. Devastating, absolute silence. Ethan Sterling is many things. Brilliant, successful, extraordinarily generous with his charitable donations. She smiled. Beautiful and cruel and perfect. But he's also a father. To my 4-year-old son, Miles. A child he's never met. A child I've raised alone for 4 years while he built his empire and planned his perfect wedding to his perfect fiancé. The ballroom erupted. Gasps became shouts. Cameras swarmed. Phones came out. People turned to stare. At Ethan. At me. Waiting for the explosion. The tears. The drama. And I stood there, feeling 200 pairs of eyes on me, knowing exactly what they expected. The angry black woman. The scene. The spectacle. I stood perfectly still for 3 seconds. Then I turned.
And walked.
Not running. Not crying. Not breaking down. walking with my head high and my spine straight and my dignity intact, like a queen who knows her worth. Behind me, I heard the chaos intensify. Ethan called my name. I didn't stop until I reached the terrace. Cool night air hit my face. City lights stretched endlessly below. Blessed silence after the noise inside. Ethan caught up to me, breathless and desperate. Ariana,
Please.
let me explain. I turned and looked at him. Really looked at him. Tell me the truth. All of it. It's true. I have a son. I found out 2 months ago, when Sloane sent me a DNA test. I had no idea she was pregnant when we ended things 5 years ago. She never told me. Never gave me a choice. And you didn't tell me. I was terrified. Terrified of losing you. Terrified of exactly what just happened in there. You didn't trust me. I was trying to protect you from this, from her, from the humiliation. I pulled the USB drive from my evening bag. Held it up in the light from the ballroom. This is bigger than your son, Ethan. Confusion crossed his face. What is that? Everything Sloane doesn't want anyone to know. We found an empty meeting room off the main corridor. Ethan plugged the drive into his phone. I watched his face as the files opened. Bank statements showing $12 million systematically stolen from Whitaker Holdings over 3 years. Offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands. Forged signatures on wire transfers and legal documents. Then the emails. His hands started shaking as he read. The child is my insurance policy. Once Ethan is publicly engaged, I'll detonate everything. He'll pay anything to make this go away quietly. Miles is just a tool. Ethan humiliated me once. Now I'll destroy his perfect life and take half his fortune. The color drained from his face. She kept my son from me for 4 years as blackmail? She embezzled millions from her own father's company. She's been planning this for years. Tonight was just her stage. Her big moment. Where did you get this? Jessica Raines. Apparently, she never forgot how Sloane tried to manipulate people during your breakup. When the DNA test arrived, Jessica started digging. Found everything. And decided I deserved to know what I was really dealing with. More files appeared on the screen. Tax fraud. Money laundering. Forged custody documents Sloane had prepared claiming Ethan had known about Miles and deliberately abandoned him. She was going to sue you for back child support, claim you'd refused to acknowledge your son, and take you for everything she could get. She had lawyers ready to file. Ethan looked up at me, devastated and furious and broken all at once. She used my son, my own son, as a weapon. My voice softened just slightly. Your son deserves so much better than what she had planned for him. I should have trusted you from the very beginning. The moment that letter arrived.
Yes.
You should have. I'm so sorry, Ariana. I looked at him for a long moment. We'll talk about us later. Right now, we have a different problem to solve. What do you mean? I smiled. Not a kind smile. Sloane thinks she humiliated me in there. She thinks she won. She thinks I'm out here falling apart. Aren't you?
No, Ethan.
I'm getting ready to destroy her. We walked back into that ballroom like we owned it. Every head turned. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. My hand was locked in Ethan's. My head was high. My eyes were absolutely clear. Sloane stood near the bar, surrounded by society photographers and curious onlookers, clearly basking in her moment of victory. Then she saw us, walking toward her.
Together.
Her smile faltered for just a fraction of a second. I crossed that ballroom with absolute purpose, and the crowd parted like the Red Sea.
Sloane.
We need to talk. Privately. She recovered quickly, her mask slipping back into place. Of course, darling. I imagine you have some questions. Just one. We moved to a quieter alcove, still visible to the room but far enough for a conversation. I stepped close. Close enough that she could see I wasn't crying. Wasn't broken. Did you really think I'd let you win? Her eyes narrowed. I'm not sure what you mean. I simply told the truth. You told part of the truth. You left out some important details, such as the $12 million you embezzled from your father's company over 3 years. Her face went pale. I don't know what you're. The offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands. The forged signatures. The systematic theft you've been covering up. Her breathing quickened. You're making things up because you're embarrassed. The emails where you called Miles an insurance policy. Where you admitted you kept Ethan's son from him deliberately to use as blackmail. Where you planned to bleed him dry and then disappear.
She took a step back. Who told you that?
I leaned closer, my voice low and absolutely steady. You thought you'd humiliate me in front of 200 people. Make me look like a fool. Break me. I smiled. But the only person leaving here in handcuffs is you. I stepped back and raised my hand. A signal. 2 security guards approached from the left. With them, a man and woman in dark, professional suits.
FBI.
The badges appeared. Sloane's eyes went wide with genuine terror. The female agent stepped forward, her voice calm and official and utterly final. Sloane Whitaker, we need you to come with us. You're under federal investigation for embezzlement, wire fraud, tax evasion, and conspiracy to commit extortion. The room absolutely erupted. Every camera in that ballroom turned toward us. Society photographers scrambled. Guests pulled out their phones. Voices shouted questions. Sloane's perfect, porcelain mask shattered completely. You can't do this. This is a private event. You have no right. We have every right, Ms. Whitaker. Please come with us. She made one last desperate attempt, her voice rising. She's lying. This is revenge. Ethan, tell them. Tell them she's making this up because she can't handle the truth about your son. But Ethan stood beside me, his voice quiet and absolutely final. The only person who's been lying here is you, Sloane. About everything. Security moved to flank her. The agents gestured toward the exit. And Sloane Whitaker, Beverly Hills royalty, old money heiress, the woman who thought she was untouchable, was escorted out of the Empire City Gala in front of everyone who mattered to her. Designer heels clicking on marble. Cameras flashing like lightning. Voices shouting questions. Her entire carefully constructed life crumbling with every step. Before she disappeared through the doors, she turned back one final time. Looked directly at me. Her voice shook but still carried that thread of venom. This isn't over. I met her eyes without flinching. Yes, it is. And she was gone. The story detonated across every news platform within 2 hours. Beverly Hills heiress arrested at charity gala. FBI investigates $12 million embezzlement scheme. Socialite accused of using child as blackmail against ex-boyfriend. Ariana Sinclair, the woman who exposed the truth. The society pages went wild. The charity circuit buzzed with nothing else. Her Instagram comments exploded with outrage. Her father's legal team issued statements distancing the entire Whitaker family from her actions. And I became something I never expected. A symbol. Thousands of messages flooded my email and social media. You didn't just survive. You won with grace. This is what real strength looks like. Thank you for showing us that we don't have to break. You proved that dignity is more powerful than drama. But I didn't bask in it. I had more important things to focus on. 4 days after the gala, Ethan filed for emergency custody of Miles. Sloane's legal team tried to fight it, but with federal charges pending and evidence that she'd planned to use the child as leverage for extortion, they had no ground to stand on. The family court judge took one look at the case file and granted Ethan temporary custody pending the outcome of Sloane's trial. But that wasn't the end of our story. Ethan and I still had things to resolve. That night, we sat at our kitchen table. Just the two of us.
No lawyers. No cameras.
No society watching. Will you stay? He asked quietly. I didn't answer right away. Because this wasn't a simple question. And I wasn't going to give a simple answer. I love you, Ethan. But you broke my trust. I know. You looked at me every day for 2 months and lied by omission. You made a choice to protect yourself instead of trusting me to be your partner.
I know.
And I have no excuse that makes it okay. If we're going to move forward, and I'm not promising we will, everything has to change. Anything. I'll do anything. No more secrets. No more protecting me from difficult truths because you're afraid of my reaction. No more making decisions about our life without me. I leaned forward, making sure he heard every single word. We're partners, Ethan. Equals. Or we're nothing. He reached across the table, palm up. An offering. Not a demand. Equals. I mean it this time. I promise you. I looked at his hand for a long moment. Then I took it. We start over. The right way. With honesty. And I meant it. But I also meant the boundaries. Because the woman who'd survived Sloane Whitaker's public attack wasn't going to lose herself for anyone. Not even a man she loved. 6 months later, everything had changed. Ethan won full custody. Sloane took a plea deal. 3 years in federal prison. Full restitution to her father's company. And she signed away all parental rights in exchange for a reduced sentence. Miles came to live with us. A small boy with his father's dark curls and cautious, intelligent eyes that seemed to see everything. I didn't try to replace his mother. I didn't force affection or demand trust. I just showed up. Every single day. Made breakfast. Read stories about dragons and space explorers. Answered endless questions about why the sky is blue, and where birds sleep at night, and whether dinosaurs would have liked pizza. Took him to Central Park to feed the ducks and collect interesting rocks. Taught him to make chocolate chip cookies and let him eat half the dough. Slowly, carefully, over weeks and then months, Miles began to trust me. One evening while I tucked him into bed, he looked up at me with those wide brown eyes. "You're nice." My throat tightened with emotion I hadn't expected. "You're pretty wonderful yourself, kiddo." He was quiet for a moment, thinking. "My mom said you were mean. She said you were trying to take my dad away from me." My heart cracked a little. I sat down on the edge of his bed. People sometimes say things that aren't true when they're hurting or angry. Your mom and I didn't get along. But that doesn't mean she didn't love you. I'm sure she did. Do you love my dad?
Yes.
Very much. Does he love you? I believe so. Miles considered this with the seriousness only a 4-year-old can muster. Good. Because you make him smile. He didn't smile much before. But now he does. I can tell. Down the hall, Ethan stood in the doorway listening and felt something fundamental shift in his chest. I hadn't just forgiven him. I'd helped him build a family. That night on our terrace, the city glowing 40 floors below, he pulled me close. "I don't deserve you." "Probably not," I agreed with a small smile. "But you're working on being the man who does. That counts for something. Every single day." He was quiet for a moment. "Jessica Raines told me why she sent you those files." I looked up. "Why?" She said she'd watched Sloane manipulate her way through our legal department during the breakup 5 years ago. Watched her try to use company resources for personal vendettas. Jessica never had proof back then, but she never forgot. So, when the DNA test arrived, Jessica started digging. Found everything. And she told me she decided to send it to you because, and I quote, "Any woman smart enough and strong enough to build what Ariana built deserves a man who treats her as an equal partner, not a problem to be managed in silence." I laughed softly. I really like Jessica. Remind me to send her something very expensive and very nice. Already done. She says you have excellent taste and she's Team Ariana for life. We stood there in comfortable silence, the city alive around us. Sloane's serving her sentence at a minimum security facility in Pennsylvania, Ethan said quietly. She'll be eligible for parole in 18 months if she behaves. How do you feel about that? Relieved it's over. angry at what she did, sad for Miles and what he lost because of her choices. He paused, but mostly grateful. For what? That you're the kind of woman who stayed, who fought, who showed me what real partnership actually looks like. I turned in his arms to face him fully. I didn't stay for you, Ethan. Not entirely. He smiled slightly. I know. I stayed because I deserved the truth. I stayed because walking away would have meant letting her win. And I stayed because I loved you enough to believe you could learn to be the partner I needed you to be. Am I that partner? I considered the question seriously. You're becoming him. You're doing the work. You're keeping your promises. That's enough for right now. He kissed me then, soft and deep and full of everything we'd survived together. And standing there 40 floors above Manhattan, with a 4-year-old boy sleeping peacefully down the hall, and a future we were building together on our own terms, I realized something profound. I hadn't just survived betrayal. I'd transformed it into something better. Not by accepting less than I deserved, but by demanding more. Not by making myself smaller to accommodate someone else's fear, but by standing taller and insisting they rise to meet me. Not by letting anger consume me, but by channeling it into strategy and justice. That's what real strength looks like. Not the absence of pain, but the refusal to let pain define you. Not the absence of love, but the wisdom to know that love without respect and honesty is just pretty words that mean nothing. I'd spent my entire life navigating rooms that weren't built for Black women like me. Being twice as good to be considered half as worthy. Working twice as hard for half the recognition. Proving myself over and over and over. And that night at the Empire Gala, Sloane Whitaker expected me to give her exactly what she wanted. The angry Black woman losing control in front of everyone. The scene. The spectacle. The stereotype. Instead, I gave her something she never expected. Strategy. Intelligence. Dignity. And consequences. I walked out of that ballroom holding his future.
His son.
His reputation. His freedom from her manipulation. The evidence that would protect him and destroy her. Not because I needed to save him, but because I refused to let someone like her win. That's my story. The night a Beverly Hills heiress tried to destroy me in front of 200 of New York's most powerful people. And I destroyed her right back. Not with drama. Not with anger. Not with the spectacle she expected. With evidence. With dignity. With the quiet, devastating power of a woman who knows her worth and refuses to apologize for it. Sloane thought my Blackness, my background, my outsider status would make me weak. She thought I'd break. She was wrong. And now she's in federal prison, and I'm here building a family with the man I love and the little boy who's stolen my heart. If you're listening to this and you see yourself in my story, if you've ever been underestimated because of your skin color, your gender, your background, or anything else about you that makes small-minded people uncomfortable, if you've ever been lied to by someone who claimed to love you, if you've ever had to choose between making a scene and walking away with dignity, I want you to know something important. You are stronger than they think, smarter than they assume, more capable than they'll ever give you credit for. And you don't have to break to prove it. You don't have to perform anger to be taken seriously. You don't have to make yourself small to make others comfortable. You just have to know your worth, trust your intelligence, and refuse to accept anything less than you deserve. Hit that subscribe button if you want more stories like this. Stories about women who refuse to be diminished. Women who fight back with strategy instead of just emotion. Women who understand that real power isn't about making noise, it's about making moves. Leave me a comment and tell me your truth. Have you ever been underestimated and then proved everyone wrong? Have you ever had to choose dignity over drama? What happened? I want to hear your stories. And hit that like button if you believe that women like us, Black women, white women, every woman who's ever been told she doesn't belong or doesn't deserve or isn't enough, deserve to see ourselves winning. Not just surviving. Winning. With intelligence. With grace. with dignity. Thank you for being here and listening to my story. I'll see you in the next one.